What's up? Welcome to the Moto Shed. Today I'm hoping to put together a short video about 2005 to 2008 Kawasaki ZZR600 Streetfighter conversion. And a lot of this information is going to also pertain to the 98 to 02 Ninja ZX6R because they're essentially the same bike. But specifically, since I've already completed the process, or mostly completed the process on this 2006 model ZZR600, that's what we're going to use as the example. So basically there's three issues you're going to run into whenever you're doing this conversion. The first issue is going to be, well, I mean, first of all, you're going to take the fairings off, right? And I don't have to show you how to do that. You can do that probably blindfolded. So you take all the fairings off, right? And so now there's a few things you got to figure out. One is, you know, headlight. What headlight are you going to run, and how are you going to mount it and everything? And then, you know, the second issue is how you're going to mount the gauges. And then the third issue is actually, I'm leaving that for how to get it to run correctly. So I mean, I guess let's start with issue number one is the headlight. There's a lot of different options out there. If you go halogen, the issue you run into with halogen is a lot of people end up relocating their ignition cylinder. And that's a real pain, it's like a pain in the butt, you know, like it's really convenient to have your ignition switch here. So for me anyway, I didn't want to have to do that. And I found out that if you go out and buy an LED headlight, and this is specifically a 7-inch headlight, Harley Davidson Daymaker Chinese knockoff from Amazon, and I'll leave a link down in the description of this video for this headlight. It's kind of cool. It has the blinkers and everything integrated into it. So it really, yeah, you don't have to have the turn signals hanging out here. But anyway, continuing on. So this is a 7-inch headlight. You can get these in 7-inch and 5-inch. And the 7-inch really fills this gap between the forks nicely. From center point to center point, fork to fork, I don't really have a great estimate. It's probably over 8 inches. These are a set of 8-inch calipers. You can see they don't quite go center to center. So it's a little over 8 inches. Anyway, the 7-inch bulb really fills up the gap nice. But if you go and you buy that 7-inch Daymaker and you cut the back side of the headlight bucket out, you end up with tons of clearance between the ignition switch and the headlight. And this is, I measured it once already. It's like 3.8 inches or so. Yeah, you can see 3.8, somewhere in there. So a guy could probably get away with actually like 3 inches. But anyway, so this works really nicely. You don't have to mess with the ignition switch that way, using this setup. They also make these in 5-inch, but I can't imagine going that route. That's just my preference, and this has worked for me. So, oh, another thing. These, you have, on these bikes, these are 46mm forks, and we can confirm that here. So 46mm, 46.03 is what this says, but I'm sure it's user error. It's 46mm. And I went out and purchased these really nice CNC machined 46mm fork brackets. And like I said, this was about 3.8 inches. You can get these in various lengths. But the headlight actually came with these really cheap Chinese, like, stamped parts that, I mean, I used them for a minute. They're pretty well awful. So get yourself a good set of 46mm specific fork clamps, and don't even mess with the cheap Chinese junk. I actually got these from a company called Speed Moto out of Oregon, I believe. I'll leave a link for these two in the description. So 7-inch headlight, 46mm CNC clamps, and you don't have to, I cut the backside of this off with just a regular die grinder, cutting wheel on a die grinder, and man, she fits really well. So there's that. And so I have my gauges here. moving on to issue number 2, and this is what I haven't quite dialed in yet, is like how to mount these up here, right? So you're gonna mount these, and I mean, obviously the reason why you want gauges is for your speedometer, but another issue is your blinker lights, your turn signals won't actually cycle, they won't blink unless you have these plugged in. So the way it is now, my turn signals turn on. Here we can. So my turn signals light, but they don't, you know, they don't blink. And if I plug this guy in, I've got the harness tucked under the frame, so I'm not gonna dig it out to show you. You're gonna have to take my word for it. But if these are plugged in, the lights blink. So I really need to figure out how to mount these. And what I think I'm gonna do, got the other one. What I think I'm gonna do is, see, you have this hole here in this bracket for like a turn signal, you know, the stem of your turn signal. But I think I'm gonna like 3D print a plastic mount with a little cowl and get it to work that way. And if I do that, I might make a video about it, but I'll probably just end up dropping a link down into the description of this video. That link will probably be to Thingiverse, and you can download the model from there and have it 3D printed if you wish. That is if it works, and that is if I go that route. So if there's a link for that in the description, that means I've done it. If not, that means I haven't. Okay, so you're gonna have to figure out how to mount your gauges, and I'm sorry I don't have that covered just yet. So there's issue number 1 and 2. The third issue is getting it to run correctly. And it's actually, thankfully, not too bad. So whenever you take all of your fairings off, one of the things you're gonna remove, I have my fascia over here. One of the things you're gonna end up removing is this ram air system. So it starts here, and there's a couple of tubes on the left and right side of this ram air system. And they exit here and go through this air filter. And then it has one tube, this guy, that connects here, and this is the stock setup. You know, it actually goes through the frame of the bike around the air box, connects to this piece of tubing, which actually you know, has these tubes that go, and this tube leads to the left 2 carburetors, and this feeds the right 2 carburetors, and this pressurizes the float bowls. So your ram air system pressurizes your float bowls, and you remove all this, and you've created an issue with drivability. So whenever I first did this, I took all the fairings off, including the ram air, and I left this tube hanging out of the hole up here, and it ran like crap. This hole, I don't know if you saw it very well there, so this hole right here is where it exits. Ran like crap. It started, idled just fine. You could rip through first, second, maybe third gear. But once you got up to highway speed, it would start fuel starving and whatnot. And it wouldn't produce any power, and you couldn't actually go highway speed. It was dangerous for one, but it's probably bad for the engine and all that stuff. Valve train. Anyway, what we're concerned about is how to get it to run right. And in order to get it to run right, you've got to modify the airbox. So I've actually already got everything loose. So let's go ahead and, well, I've got most things loose. So you got to get to the airbox. You take this off, you lay it on your brother's bike. Hopefully he doesn't come out and get pissed off. Got a 10mm bolt here. Bracket, front seat comes off. You lay this on your brother's other bike. No, don't do that. All right. Let me put that here. All right. Then you got 5mm hex bolts here. Little washers on those. Let's put these on the floor. Oh, I've got that done already. I don't know where the screw is. Huh. That's not very good. Anyway, 2 more 5mm hex bolts that hold the battery clamp on in the bottom of the gas tank. Now I've already got the petcock off, the turn knob off. There's a Phillips. Oh, it's still in there. So that's just a Phillips head that holds that on. Get your Phillips screwdriver. Turn that off if you didn't know that already. Took the fuel line off of the petcock. Got gas everywhere. Make sure you turn your petcock off. That's a key rule of thumb there. All right, so once you got all that done, you can lift the gas tank off, pull your breather tube out. Should just lift right off. And what I haven't done is taken the airbox loose. So be very gentle on your paint, because you know I'm always gentle on my paint. The magic to getting it to run correctly is inside the airbox. And there's 7 10mm bolts, and I think there's 2 inside that hold the lower clamshell on. And I don't think you need to watch me take these loose. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut the video off here, and I will see you on the other side of loosening all this up. What's up, dude?
I'm just seeing what's up.
Man, I'm just taking some air boxes off.
How many you gonna do today?
Well, I'll do mine and all 3 of yours.
Well,
You want that Streetfighter?
I think you got this one, but these other 2 may be a little advanced for you.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
You're probably right.
Yeah. I gotta check my cookies.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, I've got all the bolts loose. They're gonna pile on the floor for me to kick. And so 7 bolts, 10mm. Take the upper clamshell off, set it on the floor for you to kick also. And then there are gonna be 2 more 10mm bolts here. Loosen those up. And then this, oh, my wire management clip came off and is now somewhere in here. All right, and then the lower clamshell comes off after that. Get snagged on shit. What are we doing? What are we snagged on? Oh yeah, we're snagged on the Airbox mod. Yeah, okay. So we need to take the air filter off and see what we're talking about here. Okay, so let's, I don't know if I can slide this off or not. Oh, I can. Excellent. That one's gonna do it. Yep, all right. Cool. I'm running low on these little zip ties, so I'm kind of excited about that. All right. So basically this is it. This is the Airbox mod that everybody talks about. So what you've done is removed all of your ram air system, right? You had that hose. That's, gosh, it's so crowded in here. You got that hose that ran from the front fairing through here and around, or just around here. Anyway, it plugs into these guys. Let me go get that. But this used to stick through here. But it went something like that. So you've already pulled all of this off, right? You've done whatever you're gonna do with it. For me, I've thrown it in the corner somewhere. And so you've got to reference pressure to the float bowls of the carburetors in the correct place. And the correct place in this case is actually right here inside the airbox, just beneath the air filter. So what you have to do is go to the hardware store and get some tubing with the same inside diameter as this tube here, both of these tubes. And for me, I went to the auto parts store instead of, you know, hardware store that I probably should have went to. And oh gosh, where'd my tube go? Here it is. I bought some 5/16 radiator hose. 5/16 radiator hose. And I drilled holes in the back side of this airbox to fit this through. So find out your OD Get a drill bit that's roughly the same size. Drill holes, here's about where. And you connect basically this tube and this tube to the inside of your airbox. And you are gonna have those tubes exposed to outside air, because you know these are going to be open, the front side, so this sticks through like this. All right, so those just stick through like that and plug in to these guys, and that's really it. So, and I've just taken an old t-shirt actually and got some rinky-dink air filtration and zip tied them on. So that's the Airbox mod. It's if you do this, you're gonna reference the float bowls to the pressure that's inside your airbox, and that works wonders. You can ride this down the street like that. So that goes on, get that on, put your airbox back on, put your fuel tank and everything back on. All right, and that's really about it. Now I will say, it does kind of seem like the mids are lacking. It's not like you've completely got the old bike you had. It does still have, it needs some tuning beyond this, but it will run and ride and wheelie and do all the things that you want it to do if you just do this during your Streetfighter transformation. And I'm gonna leave you with about 40 seconds of footage that we took. I rode this bike in this exact configuration. I had the bar ends on it. Over at Deals Gap with some buddies from this point of view here. But yeah, just identical. I have not done anything further than this. And yeah, so here's 40 seconds of footage of this thing running in this configuration. Thanks for watching the video.